A beautiful blue-eyed girl with a long blonde braid was walking home. Late on December 31st. Katya had just finished working as snow maiden at a corporate party and was in high spirits. Fluffy snowflakes sparkled in the streetlights, creating a real New Year's fairy tale. The girl was rushing to her beloved, with whom she'd been living for 2 months. Only 4 hours remained until midnight, and Katya was anticipating the perfect celebration. Her phone battery had died earlier that day during her call with Dennis. The last thing she managed to tell him was that she'd be a little late. Passing by a bus stop, Katya heard joyful shouts from pedestrians. "Snow Maiden! Happy New Year!" She smiled and waved at them with her blue mitten. Stopping briefly, she turned and stepped onto the crosswalk. Bright headlights blinded her. Katya screamed and squeezed her eyes shut. A moment later, the road was empty. No more champagne at work. She exhaled and ran across the street. Prompt dla video. Tu kadra продолжающие друг друга. Prompt 1. Ustanovочный kadr. 003. Cinematic wide shot of a beautiful young woman in a blue snow maiden costume, with a long blonde braid, walking alone a snowy city street at night. Large fluffy snowflakes fall gently, sparkling in warm streetlight glow. Festive atmosphere, New Year's Eve. Fairy tale mood, hyper-realistic. 4K. Movie quality lighting. Shallow depth of field. Prompt 8 Smena nastroenia. Переход к напряжению. 0305. Same snow maiden. Suddenly frozen mid-step on a pedestrian crossing. Blinding bright headlights piercing through snowy haze directly at her face. Her eyes wide with fear. One hand raised to shield herself. Dramatic contrast between festive beauty and sudden danger. Cinematic, hyper-realistic, 4K, movie poster quality. Katya rushed into the entrance of an old 9-story building. The elevator wasn't working, so she had to climb to the 5th floor on foot. Opening the apartment door, the girl froze. Everywhere was dark. Only the garland on the Christmas tree dimly flickered in the darkness. Muffled moans came from the bedroom. Katya, without taking off her fur coat, quietly walked into the room. What she saw shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces. Dennis, her beloved Dennis, was making love to her best friend Marina. They were so absorbed in each other that they didn't even notice the snow maiden frozen in the doorway. Katya stood and watched them, unable to move. Something inside her broke. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't even feel them. Silently, like a ghost, Katya slipped out onto the landing, climbed half a flight up, sat in a corner, and sobbed out loud. "How could they? Traitors, I hate them," she whispered, choking on tears and hurt. Katya had been sitting in the darkness for an unknown time when the click of the apartment door lock made her jolt. She peeked out and saw Marina leaving their apartment. Dennis followed her out, begging her to stay and celebrate New Year together. Marina, with a sad face, refused, got into the elevator and left. Her conscience is bothering her, Katya thought with icy rage. How noble. As soon as the door slammed shut, the snow maiden wiped away her tears and rushed down the stairs. She ran outside and saw her friend's retreating figure in a burgundy jacket. Marina was heading toward the boulevard. Katya slipped into the shadows and followed her. There was almost no one on the streets. Marina walked out onto a brightly lit avenue. Suddenly, the street lamp above her flickered wildly, buzzed, and exploded with a loud bang. Marina screamed, spun around, and seeing no one, ran. "Run, run, bitch," Katya whispered, emerging from the darkness. "You can't escape me." Katya knew this area like the back of her hand. She sprinted through dark courtyards to cut her off. When the breathless Marina ran into her own courtyard, the building door was just closing. "Hold the door!" she shouted, but the door slammed shut. With trembling hands, she pressed her key fob to the intercom, but the lock was silent. Marina looked around, panic rising. Suddenly, the magnets clicked, and the display lit up. The girl pressed her key again, heard a familiar beep, and the door opened. She flew into the elevator and pressed the button for the 6th floor. Her watch showed 5 minutes to midnight. I made it. She exhaled. The elevator stopped. The doors opened into complete darkness. The motion sensor didn't work. Marina turned on her phone flashlight and noticed the fire cabinet door was slightly ajar. The beam slid inside. The axe. Or rather, its absence. The empty holder gaped like a black void.
Marina lunged for her door. Her trembling hands couldn't get the keys into the lock. Behind her, in the darkness, came quiet, shuffling footsteps. Finally, the key slid in, clicked, and the door opened. At that same second, wild pain burned through her back. Marina collapsed face down in the hallway. Her phone flew into the room and landed screen up. On it lit up Dennis's photo with the label "My Love." From the speaker, the melody of Unchained Melody began to play. "Help," Marina rasped, blood gushing from her mouth. She crawled into the room, clawing at the carpet. Someone's foot in a white fur coat stepped over her. Katya, in her Snow Maiden costume, with a bloody axe in her hand, walked to the phone. "Don't touch what isn't yours, bitch," she hissed, and with one blow severed Marina's hand, reaching for the screen. Blood flooded the white carpet. Marina stared at her stump, unable even to scream from shock. 5:16:9 1:16:9 Cinematic wide shot 16:9. A woman in a burgundy jacket collapses face down in a dark apartment hallway after being struck, blood spreading on her back, her phone skidding across the floor into a room with a Christmas tree, dramatic lighting from the phone screen and tree garlands, shadows stretching, hyper-realistic, 4K, horror movie scene, tense atmosphere. 2:16:9 Cinematic medium shot 16:9. A beautiful snow maiden in blue costume with a long blonde braid stands holding a bloody fire axe, her face cold and expressionless, at her feet a severed hand on white carpet, blood pooling. Behind her a phone screen shows a man's photo with "My Love" text, eerie glow from Christmas tree lights, dramatic red and blue contrast, hyper-realistic, 4K, iconic horror villain shot, movie poster quality.
"You've been a bad girl this year," Katya said calmly, pushing back her hood and exposing her friend's neck. "The Snow Maiden is very disappointed." Marina lifted her head and saw her executioner for the first time. Wild animal terror flashed in her eyes. "Happy New Year, bitch!" Katya screamed, and the axe whistled down onto her victim's neck. Outside, the first fireworks began to boom. Marina's severed head, leaving a bloody trail, rolled right under the New Year tree. The body twitched in convulsions for a few seconds, flooding everything with blood. The phone drowned in the red pool, but the melody kept playing until the speaker choked. Dennis woke up on a park bench in the afternoon. His head was splitting from a wild hangover. It was already 12 p.m. on January 1st. The frosty air slightly revived him. Somehow making it home, he entered the building and barely managed to take the elevator to his floor. The apartment was quiet. Kicking off his boots, Dennis trudged to the bedroom, dreaming only of reaching the bed. But by the tree, he noticed a large white package, tied with a red ribbon. A gift. From who? He wondered. The desire to sleep faded. He knelt down and untied the ribbon. Opening the lid, Dennis instantly sobered up. From the box, Marina's glassy eyes, full of pre-death terror, stared back at him. Her severed head lay at the bottom, neatly arranged like an expensive souvenir. "Like my little gift," came an icy, painfully familiar voice from behind. Dennis spun around sharply. In the doorway stood Katya, beautiful, with a braid, in her Snow Maiden costume. In her hand, she gripped the red fire axe, still covered with a brown crust of dried blood. Katya?" he stammered. "No, genius, it's Santa Claus," the girl snarled, and with a swing, drove the blade into his chest. She struck again and again, until the once handsome guy was a bloody pulp on the floor. Leaving the axe embedded in the traitor's body, Katya fell to her knees and sobbed. Pulling herself together, she walked to the phone and dialed 911. "I killed them both," she said in a dead voice, and dropped the receiver, which dangled on its cord, swaying back and forth. Police and forensics entered the room. Katya sat in a chair in the corner, watching them examine the bodies, lift prints, take photos. No one paid her any attention. In the hallway, a neighbor lamented to the investigator. "How awful. Last year, right before New Year, his girlfriend was hit by a car. And now this." Katya went cold. She looked at the calendar on the wall, which she hadn't noticed before. On it, in large numbers, January 1st, 2016. She looked at the police officers, who were staring right through her. A puff of steam escaped from the lieutenant's mouth. "It's cold in here," he shuddered. Katya jumped up, ran to the calendar, touched it, but her fingers passed through the paper. "No, no, this can't be," she screamed with all her might. At that moment, every light bulb in the apartment flashed brightly and exploded with a deafening crack. The police ducked in terror, and Katya, finally understanding her terrible fate, froze as a silent ghost, forever bound to the place of her rage.